And good morning. It's 7:04 on this Thursday, January 2nd. It's time to head to Studio B for Coleman and Company.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome here on a Thursday morning. And after being away for 2 days, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, we're ready to go. I checked my temperature at the house. It was about 22. In my car, it said 25. So let's say the low 20s this morning. The sun's going to shine in a few minutes, and it's going to be a terrific Thursday. Well, Ronnie Kelly is here for Bates Ford, 1780 Franklin Road. Ronnie, good morning.
Good morning.
Nice to have you with us today. And Paul Tubbs, the general manager, is not going to be with us, or at least he hasn't shown up. And he said, I think he told you he might be and he might not.
Correct. I think he's a little sick this morning.
Right. Ronnie has been in sales for, is it 38 yet?
It's 38 years. It's 38 years.
38 years selling cars for the Ford dealership here, which once was known as Burchett Ford. It's now Bates Ford, of course, and even the location changed a little over a year ago, 1780 Franklin Road. But every time I pass by there, see the big American flag waving and all the cars that you have there, and think about your new facility, which my car's been in a time or two. Why, you've got a lot going for you.
Got a lot going for us, and you spoke of the big American flag.
Yeah.
And that was something that we was proud to have, and we had some people that called on and want us to put it half-mast. Mm-hmm. Because of President Carter.
Right.
And so we had some of the guys go out there and try to put it half-mast, and the wind was blowing real hard, and it had two strings, and it was kind of tough. And then the string was a little bit too short, so they couldn't do it. So one guy went out and decided to feel like he could do it, and then we don't have a flag.
Oh.
But we did manage to get it and fold it up, and I think the guys are going to come by today and put it back up.
Well, hopefully it won't. It will be waving again before long.
We want it to be waving.
Yeah.
So, but when we talk about Bates Ford, we had a great year. Have a lot of vehicles right now. We got used vehicles that's all made and models, mm-hmm. and we got some great deals on cars right now, and especially on our new trucks. We have a great inventory of new trucks. We got F-150, 250s, work trucks, and this is something that we used to not ever have, but now we have every model and make that you can think of.
Yeah.
And we don't have the room to put them all, so we need to sell them.
Well, you've seen a lot of change in the now 38 years that you've been selling cars, but some things don't change too much, and customer service and taking care of your customers, and you know all about that because you do a great job of that, Ronnie.
Right, customer service is one of our main points that we try to look at, especially when service after the sale is very important. A lot of time when people sell cars and they forget about the customer. But it's one thing that we don't do at Bates Ford. We are concerned about the customer. We try to make sure that we get everything done. Like if I got customers in and they got a problem with their car, I'm going to be there to try to take care of it.
Well, I can verify that.
Yes.
Because you've helped me out a couple of times.
Yes.
And maybe more than that, but you kind of. And I've been in sales too. I've sold advertising and insurance, and I know that when you make a sale, you want those people to be happy and be repeat customers. But not only that, to brag on you and tell other people about you, so they're going to come see you.
Yes, and we have a great service department, and we got a lot of people in service that's been there for many, many years. And they do a great job of taking care of cars. And right now, in our new location, we have about 40 bays. And right now, we can get oil changes. We can do a lot of things, and we get it done quick. Yeah. And we have a pickup and delivery service. And that's one thing that kind of helped Bates Ford along the way. And I'm glad that Ford came out with that program because a lot of customers are taking advantage of that.
Well, all you got to do is give a call, and that's 615-444-8221. I don't know if you have another dedicated number for that or not, but if they can get you there.
We can get it.
444-8221. Tell them what you want. You want somebody to come pick that car up,
right?
Take care of it,
and we'll definitely take care of it. And remember, we the dealer that trade for anything that don't eat.
Yeah, that's the first time we've said that today.
Yes,
and you prove that, if not every day, every week.
Yes, if you got anything you want to turn into cash, you bring it down to Bait Forward, and we'll try to make it happen.
Well, that's one thing that Tony is noted for, and this slogan that you've had for probably 12, 14 years now.
Yes, sir.
It's got to set you apart.
Yes.
The dealer that'll trade for anything that don't eat.
That's correct.
Well, you have a great rest of the week. Be there today and tomorrow.
Yes.
And now you sell cars on Saturday, I believe.
Yes, we'll be here on Saturday. We'll be there on Saturday.
The service work is Monday through Friday, mostly.
Monday through Friday, but we do open on Saturdays from 8 to 12.
Okay.
So it'll be mostly 8 to 1. That's when it'll be 8 to 1. Mm-hmm.
Well, Ronnie, good to see you today. Have a great one. We'll do it again next Thursday.
Thank you.
All right. Ronnie Kelly, in sales now for 38 years at Bates Ford, 1780 Franklin Road, the dealer that'll trade for anything that don't eat. Okay, 10 minutes after the hour, I've invited Chris Crowell, City Council member, to be my guest this morning. And Chris, good morning.
Good morning, Coleman.
Nice to see you. A little bit on the nippy side.
A little bit on the nippy side this morning.
But it's a typical Tennessee winter morning.
And if cold weather does indeed kill ticks, it's good that we are having some cold weather. We got out and walked the farm on Monday afternoon, and it was 60 degrees, sunshine, beautiful day. I actually found a couple of little seed ticks on us when we came back in the door. First time I've ever seen that late in December, but I guess it hadn't been that cold so far this winter, and so hopefully this cold spell we've got coming up will kill all the insects that are up on top of the ground.
We got to find out something good to talk about it, but we just don't, in Tennessee, we don't get through a winter without having a few days like this, and usually we get down close to zero once or twice and have a little snow. That's typical winter here. We just don't like the snow much.
A little variety in the weather.
By the way, we could talk about this. Did you see Ohio State? I won't say slaughter, but they put the wood to Oregon last night.
They sure did. It made me feel better, Coleman, because I went up to see the Tennessee Vols compete with, if we call it compete, I guess it was a competition with Ohio State in Columbus a couple of weeks ago, and it was one of those things. My son had told me, he said, "Dad, we need to get there early and enjoy everything." And I said, "Okay." And it was good that we did, because most of the enjoyment was before the kickoff.
Well, I think this loss to Michigan just incensed that coach, and his job is probably on the line as a result. I don't know that it is now, but it was then, I believe. I really do. And I think he encouraged in whatever way, but that team, man, they were on fire. I'm not sure anybody could have beat them that night.
Well, I saw the interview with the quarterback after the game last night, if you saw that, and he said they were playing angry.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
And
had they not been beaten by Oregon in the regular season?
No, yeah, they had.
Yeah.
They sure had. It was a close game, I think, but came down maybe the last play or two.
Well, it wasn't close last night.
Close.
And to be honest, when they got ahead by 3 touchdowns, I turned the TV off. I did turn back on a little later, and then they had scored 8 points, I believe, and then got, what was it? They got 41 to 21, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
And anyway, but they really never were in the game.
No, it made me feel a little bit better.
Really, neither was Tennessee. I mean,
That's
Ohio
right.
State's almost like a different team.
They really are.
The last 2 games.
It's hard to believe. Oregon, of course, the number 1 team in the country, had been undefeated before that, but Michigan, to see the way Michigan had played, and of course they beat Alabama in the bowl game, so they're a competitive team. But I don't think there's any question that Ohio State's a lot better than Michigan on paper anyway. But that particular day they weren't, and that was an embarrassment to them at home. Yeah. And now they've turned that into something positive. So,
well, I'm not sure that anybody's better than Ohio State, but I'm hoping they get to play Georgia, and we'll see.
Yeah, and I guess they're playing with their backup quarterback. Georgia lost Carson Beck, and so they were saying that last night that they thought that the backup quarterback would be.
But we don't have time to get into a discussion about the way you can leave your team and be disloyal. Well, but it seems to me more and more it's just about money now. It's all about money, and it has been with the colleges really for a long time. But now the players want their share, and not just in the pros, in college. Well, that's enough of that. Chris, we'll talk some city business, but it's time for us to take a break. Thank you for coming out this morning.
Yes, sir.
Chris Crowell is here, and we'll talk more in a moment on Coleman and Company, FM 98.9.
Let's see what's happening on the roadways. Thanks to Bates Ford, get a battery installed on most vehicles, $149.95. Bates Ford, 1780 Franklin Road. Now at traffic, here's Chuck.
Good morning. It's been active as far as accidents out here the last 15, 20 minutes. One on the west side of Nashville tying up the 7100 block, Highway 100, 40 eastbound. It's going to be not too far from Devonbury and Broadway in the downtown area. They moved that wreck over to the side. Still busy around the airport this morning up and down. Certain sections of Donaldson Pike, they're off I-40. Hey, whether you need a new roof repair, roof inspection, anything happening with your roof, call Independent Roofing Specialist. Check out irsroofs.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
The refreshing cool after coming in from a hot summer day. The perfect temperature to kick off your shoes and relax with a good book. When the weather heats up, a new Rheem AC system will surround your family in total comfort. Are you feeling it? Rheem, the new degree of comfort.
Financing available through TVA's Energy Right program and your local power company. Call Randy's Heat and Air 237-3604.
Rheem, the new degree of comfort.
Hey, this is Paul with Bates Ford, and I got some exciting news for you. Bates Ford's moved into our new location at 1780 Franklin Road. That's right, Bates Ford's at 1780 Franklin Road, just off Hartman Drive and Interstate 40. We've got a much larger selection of vehicles to choose from, a state-of-the-art double-sized service department, so come see us at 1780 Franklin Road. That's Bates Ford, 615-444-8221. Bates Ford, a dealer will trade for anything that don't eat.
We continue here on this Thursday morning. Again, if you just joined us, Chris Crowell is here. You represent Ward 4. Ward 4. I have trouble remembering which number goes to which person, and I have to be constantly reminded. But anyway, Chris, again, glad to have you. Let me mention the garbage pickup. If you were scheduled to be picked up yesterday, your garbage will be picked up today. And if you're scheduled for today, like I am, it will be tomorrow. And if your garbage normally is picked up on Friday, it will be picked up on Saturday. And that's, of course, because of the people who work in that department had Christmas off, of course. Well, Chris, you told me you had some sales tax figures. You want let me ask you to pass those along, because we're so much, I think, of the money that comes in to run the city comes from sales tax, and we're always looking at those figures to see how things are going.
That's right, yeah. And so the sales tax reporting that we get is a couple of months behind from the state. So the last figures that we got from Stewart were from October, and we'll be getting some updated figures here shortly. But those were at about $2.2 million, $2,269,991, and that was up from October of the previous year, which was $1,929,991. So that was that was a good increase over the year before, and we're very blessed, Coleman, that if you look back over the last several years, it's gone up every year. Mm-hmm. We haven't gone backwards, and I've heard some updates from our state legislators that some of the state figures were a little bit soft there at one point, and I think maybe they've recovered some, but we're trying to keep a close eye on that. The month before that in September, it was $2,793,564, and a year before that it was just a little over $2 million. So, we've had good sales tax numbers for this fiscal year so far, and really excited about being able to continue to provide services for residents.
I think you pretty much to really keep abreast of it and to get a true figure, you compare a month this year with the corresponding month a year ago. It's not from August to September necessarily. It's what September was a year ago, or what October was, what you were just telling us here. Compare this October with a year ago is a truer picture than comparing it month by month. Of course, we're interested in every month, and hopefully that we can do better than we did last year. But it's okay to for this month to exceed last month, and next month to exceed this month too. It's all about money.
Yeah, and there were concerns. As a banker, I look at the numbers and always concerned about we're going to be able to continue to make the same numbers that we have been over the last few years. And I remember back during COVID, we first got into that, and I was very concerned that obviously, as we all were, how all that was going to affect spending and so forth. But as it turned out, we did better during COVID than we thought, and even since then, our numbers have continued to tick up. So, very excited. If we had looking back over the last year, we needed to make about $2 million a month to make our budget, and we've been holding track above that so far. Yep. So I'm very, very encouraged by that.
Well, it'll be interesting, of course, when we get to them to find out how December comes. Well, again, we were just talking about October this morning, so that'd probably be a couple of months or close to it, I guess, by the time we know that. But we'll wait to see. I want to bring up something that happened a few city council meetings ago. Mayor Bell wasn't prepared, didn't want to talk about it much the morning after when he was out here, but there was an ordinance. Is it an ordinance that you have? I get the county and the city mixed up. Ordinance and I forget.
Resolution.
Okay. This was an ordinance, and it had to do with temporary buildings, as I understand it. And the vote for this was 4-2. You and Tick Bryan were the two who were opposed to this. But I hope we could talk a little bit about that this morning, and because it could have some future ramifications as to pertaining to what we have done in the not so far ago past, and what we might be allowed to do in the future because of what was passed the other night. So, with a little a little prompting or a little beginning there, explain this a little better than I have, so that it makes some sense.
Yeah. So, we had an instance where there was a temporary structure that was erected, and we got some concerned citizens that came to us and wanted us to address it. And so, we have a great staff with the city. Whenever we have an issue, we don't handle it on our own. We take it back to the staff, and, we ask them to look into it. And, they're out on the street every day looking at things, and, with regard to zoning and codes and so forth, what should be permitted and what we should address to try to change. And so when this was brought to our attention, we got together with the staff and we said, what are our options here? What should we be doing? And, from a broad standpoint, we have to be careful with temporary structures. Obviously the soundness of a temporary structure is paramount, the safety of it. But just from an aesthetic standpoint, we want to be careful what goes up on a temporary basis that could stretch into a permanent basis, because people will put up structures and they say it's only temporary, and then it turns into something longer term, and before you know it, it wasn't intended erected to be intended to be a permanent structure, and the look starts to deteriorate and so forth. So there was a lot of concern around those issues, and so there was an ordinance that was brought up by our planning folks, and I think Jeff was involved with that, just to try to address that and say, what sort of compromise could we look at here to offer a temporary permit, temporary structure, but not compromise the visual standards that we have, and certainly any safety issues. And so there was a lot of discussion around that, as you indicated, Coleman. I mean, the vote was 4-2, and I think the prevailing opinion of the council was that we really wanted to kind of discourage temporary structures that go beyond a certain period of time, because it can be kind of a slippery slope. I voted against against that notion. I wanted to allow a little bit more flexibility on behalf of the city, and I'll tell you, I made some notes in my in the documents that I had, and one of the reasons that I felt that way, that in this particular situation there was a church that was involved and had a temporary structure. And I tended to kind of think that maybe we needed to be very careful with temporary structures. But what impressed me in this particular situation was that there were usually. Let me preface my comment by saying this, Coleman. Most of the time when an issue comes up before City Council, the people who show up around that issue are the ones that have a direct stake in it, right? I mean, it's either the property I'm trying to get rezoned, or it's my neighbor's property that's trying to get rezoned. I'm trying to buy that property. I'm trying to buy the property next door. Somebody has a direct interest, in that particular issue, and that's why they're there. But that particular night, we had several people from the community that were there. Some of them were members of the church, so they had a direct, but there were several other churches that came and spoke on their behalf in favor of it. And they, from my standpoint, it looked like they had no direct, interest in the legislation, but they just thought that it was the right thing to do, and they wanted to support their fellow church, so to speak. And I was impressed by that. I was really kind of moved by that, because, again, usually we see only people who have a direct interest, and you can kind of see where they're coming from. But you combine that and with the fact that a lot of the good that's done in our community comes from churches. They're the organizations that usually roll up their sleeves in times of, a disaster, or, when people need help, maybe down on their luck, and people will go to a church and get help. And obviously just, an opportunity for people to come together for inspiration in their religion and so forth. But, I was impressed by that. And obviously, like I say, the staff does an excellent job. If there's any middle ground to be found, they'll find it, and they'll help us try to resolve. So, and I made the point in my comments that obviously it was something that could be revisited. I mean, we could revisit this issue again if we choose to. But that was mainly the reason I took the position I did, Coleman.
It's my understanding that there's been some businesses that have had some temporary things. Well, one in particular, Wilson County Hyundai on West Main. It was temporary for a good while there, but they got a beautiful place now. But it was almost necessary to do what they did at the time, which wasn't the most beautiful thing. I mean, all you got to do, look at the sidewalk being built out on North Cumberland and all those orange restrainer things there. That's not very beautiful right now, but when we get the sidewalk done, it's going to be nice. That's right. It's kind of the same situation.
No, it is, and that's a great point, Coleman. We had, they were certainly a business where that has been the case, and there have been others, frankly. And, one of the things that was brought up was, in the tornado, and after the tornado, several businesses along the path there had to erect temporary structures and so forth. And, so this would have been a way to try to address some of that. The council chose not to do it, and I certainly respect the opinion of my fellow counselors, and we move on to many other issues that we have. But that's kind of where we were on
All right.
that.
Well, speaking of moving on, we got about a minute and a half. So what else is happening either in your ward or coming up here in January that we could talk about quickly?
Well, it's amazing. If you look at Hartman Drive, the part of Hartman Drive between Hickory Ridge Road and the interstate, and 109, Highway 109 from, say Wildwood Estates just south of there all the way to 840. Both of those corridors are in Ward 4. We've got a lot going on, new businesses coming in constantly. I get 3 or 4 calls a week for rezoning or future land use changes and all those sorts of things. And so we're blessed to be in a position where people still want to come to Lebanon and do business.
Yeah. Well, we always appreciate your visit, and let's see, you'll have a meeting
Tuesday.
Next Tuesday. Mm-hmm. Mayor Bell will be here next Wednesday to tell us what happened, and I guess we're well into 2025 now. Today's the second day, and when winter's over, spring won't be far behind.
There'll be a lot of documents signed 2024 today, won't there? People will still be doing 24 for a while.
It takes a while to adjust. Thank you again.
Thank you, Coleman.
That is part 1 of Coleman and Company. We've got more, so please keep it right here, FM 98.9.
Let's see what's happening on the roadways. Thanks, Absolute Kubota. They have a deal designed to keep you ahead of schedule. Check out the world's #1 selling compact excavator with 0% financing going on now until the end of the year. Absolute Kubota, 1506 West Main. Now at traffic, here's Chuck.
Good morning. Normally be heavier than this on 65 southbound at Trinity Lane. Traffic volume still a little bit lighter than it normally would be. Same thing there on 24 out through the Antioch area coming in from Murfreesboro, Rutherford County. Still looks good. Some radar down certain sections of 840 as you work your way out of Rutherford County into Williamson County. Be careful. Princess Hot Chicken has new items on the menu. You can order online today at princesshotchicken.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
We'll have partly cloudy skies again for today. Highs will be in the middle 40s. Partly cloudy tonight, lows in the lower 30s, and then partly cloudy again for our Friday. Highs will be in the lower 40s. This forecast brought to you by Walker Auction and Realty, professional auction and real estate services. Get top dollar for your home, land, or personal property. Log on to MikeWalkerAuctions.com. They know auctions. With your Severe View forecast, I'm Drew Richards.
Hey, welcome to part 2 of Coleman and Company. It is a Thursday, January the 2nd, and it is a frosty morning out there. Temperature in probably the mid-20s by now. But anyway, we're ready to talk about A.G. & Johnson Realty and Auction. We do that each Thursday at this time. Helene Singer-Cash is here this morning, and Helene, good morning to you.
Good morning, Coleman. It has warmed up to 25 degrees.
Yes, all right. Well, we'd like to tell everybody A.G. & Johnson Realty and Auction is at 728 West Main in Lebanon. On the website, you'll find them at www.agandjohnson.com, and that phone number is
615-444-0909.
And somebody answers that phone on a regular basis, of
They
course.
sure do.
Yeah. Well, you've got a couple of auctions we need to talk about, and then whatever else is on your mind this morning.
Okay, Coleman. So we're enjoying having a weekend off this past weekend and next weekend, just because it's January and we want to stay warm. Yeah. But we're going to venture into mid-January, Wednesday, January 8th. We're going to have a midweek auction over in Hermitage, just right over the line in Hermitage.
And that's next Wednesday, right?
Next Wednesday,
right.
January 8th. Mm-hmm. 4343 Andrew Jackson Parkway in Hermitage. If you're looking for an investment property, if you're looking for a starter home, it's a great single level, 2-bedroom, 1-bath corner unit. It is so convenient in Hermitage. It's just right over that line, but it's convenient to downtown Nashville. So, it's a great location. Single level, 2-bedroom, 1-bath, investment property, starter, fixer-upper, if you're looking for that. But it also has a little bit of personal property, and it has a Jeep Cherokee. So it has some personal property, starter home, investment property. So it ticks all those boxes, but it's a middle of the week, Wednesday at 11 a.m. Mm-hmm. Right. So it's a good lunch auction if you want to come out and visit us on January 11th. But then on January 11th at 1639 Murfreesboro Road, at the foot of 4 Mile Hill.
Yes.
I've learned that. Now, I've been here a while, but I learned that. We have what I like to say, a farm equipment auction. We have autos, tractors, trailers, farm equipment, tools, so many things for so many people. You're going to want to come out to that one on Saturday, January 11th at 10 a.m. There's something for everyone out there.
Yeah. 4 Mile Hill, of course, is 4 miles from the square. That's my understanding. I haven't checked it.
I think we're going to have to do that today. I'm going to have to get in the car and drive out there and clock it. So next week when I come see you, I can confirm that.
Well, you could do that, but it's not. It's probably not exactly, but it's about 4 miles.
About 4 miles. Well, that would make sense because it seems about right. But we have all kinds of things, all kinds of equipment, autos. There's tractors. There's bobcats. There's stuff that I don't even know anything about that I'm going to sit here and tell you about. But there's a skid steer. Do you know what a skid steer is?
Sorta.
Yeah. I can sit here and talk my way through it and sound like I'm an authority, but I'm not going to do that one. But there's a couple different tractors there. I bet Tim Leeper knows what a skid steer is. And he's sitting there shaking his head going, I know what it is. But there's gators. And if you like green, there's all kinds of John Deere equipment out there. Mm-hmm. But there's tools for the person that's the woodworker, the person that likes to repair things. There's all kinds of small tools as well as the large equipment. So if you like all things in between, you need to come out and see us out on Murfreesboro Road.
Right.
And that's Saturday, January 11th. So we're getting started first thing in January. So that, you know what that means? We've got the auctions booked.
Yes.
But there's still time for you to call us and book your auction.
You don't have one every week, but probably, I'll bet you're over half full already.
We have some auctions booked.
Yes.
So there's still time. If you are interested in booking an auction, you give us a call and we'll come out and we'll talk to you about the benefits of having an auction. And we'll see if an auction is correct for you in your scenario. Because an auction is not right for everyone, but it does benefit a lot of people, especially if you have the personal property, if you have land, if you have an estate. So we can come and sit down and talk to you and go through the opportunity of an auction. And you can't just turn around and have an auction immediately. There's a little bit of leg time in an auction to prepare things and do things properly.
What's maybe the minimum time you need to have a really good auction?
It depends on the scenario.
Oh.
So if there's land, if there's a lot of items, because we have to do marketing and advertising. We have to get it on the website. We have to advertise it. So it just depends on the scenario what we need to do because we just can't have it tomorrow.
But it's 6 weeks or 2 months almost a minimum, isn't it?
On average.
Yeah.
So because there's some things we have to do to make it we have to do it properly for you. We want to make it beneficial.
Well, you've been doing it properly, and that's why you.
We've been doing it properly.
Yes, right. Well, anything else you want to say about the other side of real estate?
Well, we have several new listings that are just coming on the market or came on the market in the last week. So you can check out our website at agandjohnson.com. You can check out those new listings. But if you're interested in listing a house, you want to give us a call at 615-444-0909. And we've got an agent for you.
Yeah. Well, you have a number of people who work. There's a number of people who identify with A.G. and Johnson. I don't know how many, but I know that you do. And there's somebody for you.
That's right. But Coleman, we want to say thank you for everyone who has worked with us over the years, but especially in 2024. We are so blessed to have so many people that have entrusted us with real estate and auction. And we've had another amazing year, and we wish everyone a wonderful 2025 as we venture into this wonderful year.
All right. Well, thanks for being with us today. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, Coleman.
All right. Helene Cash with A.G. and Johnson Realty and Auction, 728 West Main. Okay, we're about 22 and a half before the hour, and Tim Leeper is here for his regular visit this morning. And Tim is all excited to tell us about his trip to New Orleans. And yes, he made it back safely. Good morning.
Good morning. And yes, I do know what a skid steer is. It's kind of a souped-up bobcat with different attachments.
Okay. Well, I've heard a lot about them. I don't have any personal experience with one, but anyway, how you been?
Good.
Well, how was you had a kind of a whirlwind trip to New Orleans, didn't you?
We did. We
flew down, flew back.
Went down on the 30th. Went down Monday morning early, and spent the day, and then the evening, and then yesterday, New Year's Eve, and we'd planned on, doing New Year's in the quarter, French Quarter, and we ended up going out to eat that night, night before last, I guess, whatever it was, the 31st, and
Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday night, and then we came back and we had our nephew with us, and he said, "Hey, I'm just going to go to the room. I'm not feeling the best." And he went to the room, and so we followed, and we were in bed by 9 o'clock, and so we missed everything except for, you could hear fireworks, and then there was a time where the fireworks you could hear. I was like, "Man, that sounds like gunshots." And that's what it was. It was gunshots. We were a block over. We stayed on Royal Street, which is a block over, probably about 400 feet from where the street was, on Bourbon Street where he ran down. And more videos are coming out. So it's kind of freaky, but, we pretty much stayed in the hotel room all morning while they were clearing the quarter, for pipe bombs and stuff like that. But it was certainly surreal.
Well, yes. Well, just in fact, you texted me yesterday, and then when you mentioned New Orleans, when I texted you back, I'm glad you made it home safely.
Yeah, it was certainly something to think about because we'd planned on going down there and maybe going out for New Year's and just kind of hanging out for a little bit, but we had kind of did that the night before, and we'd went and did a few things. And of course, when we go to bed, we go to bed early. So if we stay up at 11 o'clock, it's awful late for us. We're not young anymore.
Oh, well, that's probably part of the roofing business has necessitated that in your life, and that goes back to what Ben Franklin said years ago: early to bed, early to rise, makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise.
I hadn't heard that one, but yes, that's you can't just stay up all night and expect to get up in the mornings, and be productive. So I'm more of a morning person than an evening person anymore in my life.
Yeah. Well, I haven't mentioned, of course, you are here often, and we always do, and I'm getting around to it now. Tim Leeper Roofing and Mama's Metal Roofing, actually two businesses that you have and are here to talk about, and among other things, of course. We have a good variety of things that we do talk about with you, but as you start 2025, the roofing business look like another good year?
I think it's going to be, potentially, an exceptional year. I think that last year with the election year, it was just, people were just nervous. They're always nervous every election year. And then most of the time, no matter what happens, unless we go into a great recession, something like that happens, it changes everything. But more times than not, it's business as usual. And so we just start working, and people who have put roofs off during election year, here's what happens. When you put your roof off and you don't repair it, you don't replace it, you're like, well, we're just going to wait and see. What happens is that roof doesn't get any better. It doesn't care about waiting and seeing. And so that roof continues to deteriorate. It continues to weather. And it's out 365 days a year. It's out in the heat, it's out in the cold, in the wet, in the snow, in the ice, all the things and all the elements. That's your first line of defense against keeping your home dry. And so it doesn't think about waiting and seeing what's going to happen until it gets replaced. And so they continue to get bad, and they will just stack up. And that's why I think this spring will be a particularly busy season for us.
Mm-hmm. When a lot of things just happen, kind of the natural process. I mean, wood doesn't last forever. Metal doesn't last forever. And sometimes if metal isn't taken care of, rust develops and so on. I mean, you've seen all that. You deal with all of that. Some's worse than others. Some can depend on even the weather can have a bearing on how fast it deteriorates and that sort of thing. But if you're not paying any attention to that, things can get bad real quick sometimes.
They can. Here's the thing, you don't always have to have your roof looked at and maintained every year. I know a lot of people like to tell you that, but that's not always the case. If you have a new roof, check it every 5 years. Check it in year 5, check it in year 10. And then depending on what kind of condition it is, you might go to every 3 years or 2 years, depending on what kind of shingle you've put on there. And that's for your asphalt products. If you've got a metal product, you don't have to typically check until year 10 or maybe even year 15. Now, you'll still have to maintain the roof. If you have gutters that need to be cleaned out and you've got a lot of leaves and trees around, you still need to take care of those things. But as far as the roof goes, you don't have to check it so much until you get, further along and it gets a little bit more age to it.
We got a couple of minutes here before we take a break, but let's talk about what does winter. Is wintertime, I mean, it's cold, you have ice and snow and this sort of thing, compared with the summer when you can have extreme heat on a roof. Is one worse than the other as far as doing damage or aging a roof?
This is just my theory only because there's not a lot of science behind this. And, you'll hear guys have this theory or that. Well, this is mine. My theory is that the winter's harder on your roofs than the summertime is. The summertime is hot on them. And yes, that's important, especially if we go into a drought. They can go into thermal shock and begin to crack. But wintertime is extremely hard on them because you've got snow and ice. When you have rain, the rain just runs off of it. There's not a big temperature swing, so you're not going to get such a shock typically. Whereas in the wintertime, when it snows and when there's ice on the roof, it is more of a temperature shock to that roof. You've got a warm attic on the inside. Even if it's insulated in that attic, you still have a temperature differential in there. And if you've got a roof that has, 4 inches of snow on it, and it keeps 4 inches of snow for a couple of days, it's really, it's getting back to your fasteners in some cases. If you've got, a leaking roof, it's going to get back, find those fasteners where it's leaking. It's also going to freeze, and the wood expands and contracts. Even in cold weather, it expands and contracts. And if you've got that roof that is stuck down with ice or snow and it's so cold that it's frozen one day in the snow, those shingles still want to expand and contract. And when you have something restricting that movement, it's going to do damage to those shingles. And so that's my theory of why the wintertime is harder on your shingle roof than the summertime.
All right, Tim Leeper's with us. We got more to talk about after we go to this break. And you're listening to Coleman and Company, FM 98.9.
Let's see what's happening on the roadways. And it's all brought to you by our friends at Bates Ford. Get that regular oil change, $39.95 up to 5 quarts of oil, tax and disposal, 1780 Franklin Road. Now at traffic, let's check in with Chuck.
Good morning. It's picked up just a bit coming through the Mount Juliet area right now as you head into Hermitage on I-40 going westbound. A couple of accidents out here in the clearing stages. That was a good one over there on the west side earlier. 7100 block of Highway 100. They're almost through with that accident right now. Building through Kingston Springs, I-40 eastbound, coming in from Dixon County. Hey, Princess Hot Chicken has new items on the menu. Check them out today. Order online, princesshotchicken.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
A.G. & Johnson is your experienced real estate and auction company, specializing in residential, commercial, and personal property auctions. Did you know that auctions are a fast and efficient way to sell your property? Auctions reduce time on the market and have an exact selling date. Call us for an in-home consultation today at 615-444-0909. A.G. & Johnson Realty and Auction, 728 West Main Street in Lebanon, or find us online at agandjohnson.com. Voted best auction company in Wilson County.
What is your passion? How can you use that passion to enrich your community? Hi, this is Melanie Minter, President and CEO of the Lebanon-Wilson County Chamber of Commerce. Your chamber is the resource for making connections to fulfill your passion. Whether education, nonprofit, agriculture, entertainment, or government relations, Wilson County offers a place for you to be involved. Your chamber connects businesses, individuals, and your passion to the community. We have an enthusiasm for excellence. Join us and catch the spirit. Call or visit our office at 149 Public Square in Lebanon.
And again, good morning. Welcome to our program. If you're joining us late today, and we have people who turn on and off throughout the hour, I'm sure every morning, but we're here and glad to have you there listening to us. And Tim Leeper's with us this morning. Tim Leeper Roofing, Mama's Metal Roofing. And I Tim, always appreciate your visits. I've learned quite a bit about roofing myself, sitting here listening to you from the times that you've been with us. But your visit is more than just a commercial. We have a number of things that we talk about, and again, you were in New Orleans, got back yesterday, and we're so close to where this incident happened down there. You were showing me a picture during the break here. You got on your camera there the police barricade at where you were, and a block away is the street that he came down doing maybe 60 miles an hour. I was 10 people, I believe, lost their lives.
Yeah, I think it's even up to 15 now.
Oh.
And those people, that are in the hospital, right, they'll continue to, in some cases, deteriorate. And it's so senseless and unfortunate. It's just silly.
Yeah. But we're wanting to be positive this morning. You've been in the roofing business and you've told me this several times. You started, and then a few years later went into business for yourself. But you got your feet wet in the beginning, learning how to do roofing, and you just, it just exudes from you the whole thing about roofing. It just like this morning, I asked you a question, and just right off the bat, you've got an answer, and you've put your time to great use, I think, in the experience that you've gained with and knowing all about roofing. And well, I don't know you ever know all about anything, but you have so much knowledge about roofing that you have gathered your years being in the business.
Yes, sir. Well, I've done it for 30 years, and our company's been in business for 20 years. So over time, you learn, good practices. You learn what the good materials are, the things to stay away from, and then more importantly, you learn what not to do, or what not to do again in some cases. And so, that'll do that for you. Just time in the business. But you're right; you never learn everything. You're always learning, expanding your knowledge base, and the goal is to make sure that when somebody calls you, you're the expert. You're the person that understands roofing, and you know how to solve their issue. It's not just a roof. A lot of times that they're trying to solve, they're looking at other things like, hey, I have family coming. I want to make this look nice. Is there something I could put up there to make that flashing on the wall look nicer? Could I change the color out? Could I put metal on my bay window instead of shingles to kind of accent that area? Could I take the roof off the front porch and put standing seam on it and have shingles on the rest so it really look a little bit more contemporary and nicer and cleaner and neater looking? And those are the things that we solve. It's not just roof leaks all the time.
Yeah. Well, we hadn't talked much about that, but you can make a big difference in the appearance of a place with some fairly minor renovation, I guess.
Yeah, a lot of times you can, and a lot of times their realtors will tell you things that value a home when somebody's coming to look at it. And one of the first things they see when they pull up is a roof. Now, I'm not telling you that a roof will always give you more value when you're reselling your house than a bathroom remodel or a kitchen remodel. However, it is up there, and people see that and they notice it. And that's also why, people notice metal roofs faster than they notice shingle roofs. And so if you pull up to a house that has a metal roof, it's an automatic bonus most of the time, unless it's just in poor condition. It's automatic bonus that there's a metal roof versus a shingle roof on there.
Yeah, we've talked quite a bit about the differences in shingle roofing and metal roofing, and the cost and the length of time they'll last, the whole 9 yards really. And but you're still saying that shingle roofing's not going away and metal roofing's not going to take over, but metal roofing has come a ways, I think, in the last 5 or 10 years.
It has. The cost difference has gotten smaller between shingles and metal. And metal is, it's proven to last longer and have lower maintenance costs to it. At the end of the day, you're going to get what you pay for. And so people are not going to stop doing shingle roofs, and there's nothing wrong with that. They're an attractive, nice roof. It's what most of the market puts on. It's the most economical thing, reasonably economical thing you can put on your roof is an asphalt shingle roof. However, and there's variations there. However, I also know that there's another segment of people that want just a little more out of their roof. They either want it to look differently, they want it to last longer, or a combination between the two, and they will spend the extra money to put a metal roof on there, and those are the people that we cater to with Mama's Metal Roofing.
Well, you can reach Tim at 615-372-4713. 372-4713. That's your cell phone. You have it with you. You answer it on a regular basis.
If I don't, typically what happens is if I'm up on a roof or if I'm talking to an adjuster or a customer somewhere, I won't answer the phone. And so what I ask people to do, if they can, either leave me a message or text me. Text me, I can typically say, hey, I'm on the roof. I say this all the time. Hey, I'm on the roof, or I'm talking with a customer. May I call you back?
Yeah.
And it at least sets a placeholder to know that, hey, I've got your call. It's important to me. I want to call you back. Let me finish what I'm doing. Give me just a few minutes, and I'll call you back. And so they know, okay, I can check that box. He'll call me in just a few minutes.
Right. Well, you don't ignore at all. You appreciate the calls. Sometimes you can't take care of it just immediately.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty typical of business, and especially a busy person, and you are a pretty busy person.
Well, busy is relative, I think, and I don't want people to think that I'm too busy to answer the call if I don't take it, and so that's why I try to manage their expectation to say, hey, if you're going to call and I don't catch you, it's not because it's not important. It's typically because I've got something going. And usually if I don't know who the call is, I don't always catch those calls if I'm in the middle of an email either. And so that's why text is always the best way, the fastest way typically to get through. I'm still going to call those back, whether it be me or our office staff. I'm going to make sure that each of those calls are responded to.
Well, I'll tell you what, texting has really changed things. A few years ago, you'd have mentioned that, and people wouldn't even know what you were talking about. But nearly everybody seems to text anymore. I mean, even I have gotten adjusted to it.
I know you and I texted last night, and so I try not to bother you with that stuff. But I also don't want to bother you with a phone call. But it just the way that we communicate is different. We even will sometimes, when customers call in Tim Leap Roofing, I'll ask them. Have the girls ask them, say, what's your method of communication? Would you rather be texted? Would you rather be emailed? Would you rather be called? And you'd be surprised how many people would say just email or text me.
Yeah.
Just because if they're in a day job, say they work in a court, and they work in a courtroom, they can't answer those phones when the judge is on the bench.
Right.
It's extremely disrespectful. And most people can't even have a phone in a courtroom anymore, except for the people who work there. And so those cases, it's easy for them to text or to email.
We got about 4 minutes here, and I think I just have an idea you'd like to talk a little bit about Kylan's Light. That's the name of what the project you're on now to call attention to some of the treatment of people who are incarcerated, and where are you in your project?
Well, we actually are having our first board meeting tomorrow. We've got a number of people on our board. There's about 6 of us, I think, at this point. We have our first board meeting at Frank Lanham's office. Frank's on the board with Lanham and Williams, and so we're going to use his conference room. But I'm today going to set the agenda and set the Zoom call up because we have people in Clarksville and different areas and Cool Springs that aren't able to make it in. But long story short, we just want to bring attention to the conditions in this local private prison down here. There's a lack of humanity that's extended to the inmates, and we understand that they've done wrong and they are there serving their debt to society, but they're not cattle. They're not animals. Matter of fact, we treat our animals and our cattle much better than we treat our inmates. We actually treat our prisoners of war better than we treat our inmates, and so those guys are down there. At the hardest times of their life, they're already at a low point, and we're just treating them so poorly that a lot of these guys are either committing suicide or they're getting killed in the droves in this prison down here. It's the #1 most deadly prison in the state of Tennessee by far. and it's a real problem. And so I'm hoping that we can lobby some of our legislators and state senators to make a difference and say, hey, this is not acceptable. We've had 3, and it will be 4 in January of next year whenever they vote on the extension at Trousdale. Poor audits, and it's time to do something. You know, I don't want to be judged on the worst day of my life. And so I don't expect that they would also want that. And so where they are, they just don't have an opportunity for rehabilitative opportunity, and they also don't have any reintegration planning when they're getting ready to come back into our communities. Because 94% of the people that are in that prison are going to come back into our communities at some point. So wouldn't it be better if we introduced a better version of that person back into our communities with rehabilitative opportunities than the same or worse condition of that person we took in?
So this is kind of the message you're hoping to get out. I mean, this has been a terrible time for you and the loss of your son and all of this, and then to find out some of these conditions that haven't been reported a great deal. You probably are doing more about this than anybody else I know. I mean, it's not in the news much. It has been a little bit, but unless some attention, some light is shown on this, things will just stay the same as they are.
That's exactly right. And so, you know, most of the time people in prison are poor and they don't have the means. They don't have those phone numbers in their phone to reach out to and say, hey, can you help make a difference? And so I'm hoping to just shed some light on that, which is why we named it Kylan's Light.
Right. And if you want to know more about this, they can call you to the same number here. You'd be glad to talk about that if somebody has some input for you or would like to join your efforts.
Sure, and we're in the process of doing a website to direct people to as well. So we're evolving.
All right. Well, Tim, thanks for being with us today. We'll see you next time. Tim Leeper Roofing, Mama's Metal Roofing, 615-372-4713. Well, that's it for Thursday. Hope you'll join us tomorrow for the Friday edition. And until then, I wish you a tremendous day.